Chairman Collins, Ranking Member Casey, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify about my experiences as a caregiver for my late mother and now my husband, Mike, who is currently living with Alzheimer's disease. Mike was diagnosed at age 62. My hope is that in sharing our story, others who are impacted by this disease will feel less alone and understand that with proper supports, there is life after a diagnosis. Mike was 58 when I started noticing that things did not seem quite right. After living on our family farm since 1977, daily tasks like running the tractor became a challenge. During that same time, I was part of a family care team caring for my mom, who was living with dementia. She was a brave woman who started our family-owned business, Dysart, with my father 52 years ago. And for 52 years, our business has been open 24/7, so you can gather how brave she was to start that. My two brothers and I are very proud to have carried on our parents' dream into the third generation. I began to see similarities in the challenges both Mike was facing and decided to reach out to our family doctor, who agreed to help me monitor Mike for changes. For 4 years, we continued on this path, with things coming to a head when Mike was 62 and agreed to be tested. After incorrectly being diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia, or FTD, we received a diagnosis of younger onset Alzheimer's from Mass General Memory Clinic in Boston. We are so thankful for the care we received at Mass General, and following the diagnosis, our lives changed significantly. Mike had owned a business that manufactured log homes. He was our money manager. After the diagnosis, we sold our farm, where we had lived for nearly 40 years, and simplified our life. The farm had a half-mile-long driveway, and it snows occasionally in Maine. At 63, Mike volunteered to give up driving, a freedom that he really loved. Before Mike was diagnosed, we were not familiar with younger onset Alzheimer's disease, but had had some knowledge of Alzheimer's and dementia through the experience of caring for my mother. One common assumption about the disease is that life completely stops. While we've faced unique challenges as we've tackled this disease, we continue to move forward with our lives as best we can. In just 2 weeks, as Senator Collins says, I'm going to be running the Boston Marathon with a charity number for the Alzheimer's Association to help rid the stigma of this disease. Too often, Alzheimer's is talked about in terms of cognition and memory, but it is much more. In Mike, I see it affect his emotions and his temperament. If someone is diagnosed with cancer, people automatically rally around to offer support and guidance. An Alzheimer's diagnosis is sadly not the same. But there's nothing to be ashamed about. We cannot hide behind a diagnosis if we want to make progress. The staff at Mass General made clear that this disease is something that is meant to be taken day by day, to be approached with humor and a grasp of reality. Our doctor told us, don't worry about tomorrow, enjoy today. That's how we've chosen to live our life. Thanks to our providers and support we receive at the Alzheimer's Association main chapter, we've begun fulfilling wishes on our bucket list. Lucky for Mike, most of them have been fishing adventures. After more than 40 years of marriage, I took fly fishing 101, but I can't outfish him yet. However, I know these adventures aren't typical for everyone, especially those without a care plan. For us, this plan came in pieces, and with the help of our team of care providers at Mass General. Mike's diagnosis at 62 was a shock, but working with a team of care providers gave us time to talk through the reality of the situation and plan for the challenges that lie ahead. We continue to have regular visits, and at our last appointment, we had the conversation about giving up power of attorney, something I would never have thought to seek, but was part of our plan. Thank you, Chairman Collins, for introducing the Improving Hope for Alzheimer's Act. They'll make a difference in the lives of people living with Alzheimer's disease and other dementias and their families. I think a lot about how lucky we've been in our life to be able to care for ourselves in this next phase. For many people with younger onset, that is not the reality. The services and supports, I think he's giving me a time.
He's doing my job.
There you go. The services and support that are there for those 60 years and older are vast compared to those that are available to the population in the Alzheimer's and dementia community who have not yet reached that age. Thank you, Chairman Collins, Ranking Member Casey, Senator Jones, and Senator Capito for leading the Younger Onset Alzheimer's Disease Act, which would help those with younger onset with supports and services. Throughout the last few days, Mike and I have joined our Alzheimer's Association Maine chapter along with 12,000 advocates from across the nation to make a difference in our nation's capital. I am here today because I am the wife, caregiver, friend, and daughter of Alzheimer's. We all are, and we must remain strong and resilient voice for those who have lost theirs. Thank you very much.
Mary, you and Mike are truly an inspiration, and I thank you both for being here.